The Pacers and the Wolves await their matchup in the conference finals. Who should they want to see? Lots of teams want Giannis, but will any of them, including the Toronto Raptors, get their wish? NBA draft smokescreen season is here. Are the Mavs and Sixers really about to add high-level rookies to their veteran squads? That's all today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
Being at Game 6 last night was absolutely incredible. Being at these games is such an honor, just to be able to cover them and talk to the players afterwards and see the emotions. Phenomenal game, phenomenal series, phenomenal playoffs. We've just had a really good playoffs this year, and it's been incredible to watch.
How is Aaron Gordon's hamstring?
Not great, Bob. Went immediately in for treatment following the game. He was not in the Aaron always sits at his locker and just kind of hangs out for a long time before he gets treatment, showers, gets dressed, and he was already in treatment by the time we got back there. Said he did talk to media, said he's going to see how it feels in the morning, going to do everything possible for him to go. It's going to be tight. I think there's a possibility that he won't be able to play full minutes. So it's another challenge for Denver going on the road for Game 7.
All right, we're going to talk about Game 6 and Game 7 coming up in just a moment. That's the kind of insider access you get from our local experts here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Let's go over to Locked On Bulls and the host of that podcast. We've got Haize. Haize, how you doing?
Doing good. I don't have the honor of covering a team that's in the playoffs, but I do have the honor of getting to watch the games from the comfort of my own home and eating hot wings. So there you go there.
That's a win. That's a huge win given what the Nuggets feed us at the media games, but it's free, so I'm not going to complain.
All right, well, and I won't complain about getting at least one Game 7 in the second round. It's going to be between the Nuggets and the Thunder. Locked On Thunder's Rylan Stiles says the Nuggets closed out quarters like a champion, and the Thunder did not.
You didn't defend, when you didn't make your shots, whenever you go out there and don't win those margins like the turnover battle and to make up for the lack of rebounds, or you don't bring your normal intensity on the glass that you've been able to keep these rebounding numbers closer, of course you're going to lose, especially when Denver had guys step up and you did not. For the Thunder to win in 7, as we predicted, they were always going to have to lose 3 games. And this is going to be a huge one. This is going to be the biggest game of these guys' careers. Every single one of them, except for Alex Caruso because he's won a championship. Everyone else, biggest game of your career, because you're a 68-win team. You're supposed to be in the West Finals. You're supposed to be the title favorite. You're supposed to be this dominant team. You got to go prove it, because you haven't proven it in a lot of these games this series. You've got to go prove it in a Game 7.
So Rylan had this series going to Game 7. I don't think any of us on here are surprised that this is going to Game 7, but I am a little surprised at how easy it was, Haize, for the Nuggets to slam the door in the second and then the third and then in the fourth. Why couldn't Oklahoma City make Game 6 more competitive, and does that signal anything to you about what's going to happen in Game 7?
It signals a little bit because, again, the Nuggets are a team that they refuse to just go all the way away, and they just keep chipping. And the way that they execute, it opens the door for them to win any game. I think one of the key things in this game is they did it in the fourth quarter without Michael Porter Jr. playing a single minute in the fourth quarter of that game as well. So even with the concern around Aaron Gordon, what his hammy's going to look like and things like that, the way that this Thunder team played, the way the Nuggets played against the Thunder in this series, I know that the Game 7's at OKC, but Denver's already shown, they snatched the first game away in OKC. Don't come in there sleeping.
I don't necessarily worry about Game 6. So I think the Nuggets were unable to get game 5, and they were really in that game. I was honestly surprised. I thought game 5 was going to be a blowout. The fact that OKC has only one blowout win in the series should be both really encouraging and showing how good Denver's been in the series, but also deeply concerning because it feels like there's got to be another game where OKC gets a blowout win. They had so many this season. But game 6, they were fighting uphill. There was a bunch of little tactical stuff that I thought the Nuggets did really well in game 6. Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson came out in the second quarter after Russell Westbrook basically blew all their momentum. And Gordon and P. Watt focused on getting physical to draw fouls, off ball, like non-shooting fouls. And what happened was they got in the bonus. So when Joker got back in, Hartenstein picked up his third, and then he has to give way to Jokic, and now Jokic gets going. Like there's all these like little things that kind of added up in the game sequence to get them where they were. It was a good game script for Denver. Might switch with OKC back at home, but this is going to come down to who's going to make shots, man. Like sometimes that's as simple as it is. In game 7s, that really is what it's about. The Nuggets role players, Julian Strawther in particular, off the bench, huge night for Julian. So happy for that kid. They hit shots at home. The Thunder were terrible. They shot 30 above the break threes and were awful on them. They're at home. You got to make those shots. If you do not make shots in a game 7, you go home. It is that simple sometimes.
So we talk a lot about players and we talk a lot about teams on this podcast. We don't have a ton of time always to really appreciate amazing plays. And there are a lot of passes that break our brains and sometimes shots that break our brains. I don't think too often there are blocks that break our brains, but the one that Peyton Watson had in transition late in that game where he gets, I believe it was J-Dub, he gets in front of J-Dub somehow, some way. I watched it 5 or 6 times. I still don't understand how he was able to get in position for that block, Matt.
Yeah, P.Y. is a special defensive talent, and he's probably got more in his offensive bag than he's been allowed to show with Denver. So his future, I think, is really interesting. But the great thing about the playoffs is there's so many plays where you watch all these games and you still can't believe that they make them. And it was great last night. I called on Locked On Nuggets. I called this the best win of the season.
Yes.
Because they got 20 dominant performance from Yoke, 25 along with rebounds and assists, 22 from Murray. He was great in this game. He had a bunch of rebounds and assists. They got bench contributions, 2 starters in double figures, Peyton Watson and Julian Strawther off the bench. They actually got a complete effort, and that's what it took in order for them to get this OKC team to a game 7.
All right, well, here's one more thing that should be encouraging to Denver Nuggets fans. This is from Nate Duncan on Blue Sky. The last 3 teams with Game 7s in both the first and second round, the 2025 Denver Nuggets, the 2020 Denver Nuggets, the 2019 Denver Nuggets. So they are no stranger to the situation that they are about to find themselves in. The Wolves, meanwhile, they will still have to wait a little longer for the results of that Game 7 to figure out who they're going to play. And the Pacers, they're going to be watching Game 6 of Celtics Knicks tonight. Here's longtime Pacers writer John Washburn on the latest Locked On Pacers episode with who he thinks the Pacers should want to see in the conference finals.
I wanted to say that I thought the Knicks were a little bit better matchup just because of the Pacers' depth, their style of play, the way that, we can run up and down the floor, Tibbs ball. They're only playing 6, maybe 7 guys over the course of a long series. I think that the Pacers will wear them down. However, I think all of those things can still be true against the current state of the Celtics. And without Jason Tatum, with the current state of Kristaps Porzingis, the longer we get into the playoffs with an older and more diminished Al Horford, I think I would rather play the Celtics at this specific point in time because I'm just a little bit scared of Jalen Brunson in crunch time, more than I am scared of anybody on the Celtics.
All right, Haize, who should the Pacers want in the conference finals, Knicks or Celtics?
I mean, yeah, you should always want the team that's missing their best player due to injury. Like, you should always want that. But I'd tell you, because I'd fear Jalen Brunson too. Like, Jalen Brunson is a monster, and I think he can present some serious matchup issues for the Indiana Pacers team. And so if you are facing off against the Celtics, they're still a dog of a team, make no mistake about it, but they're missing such a large part that made their team, especially offensively, is what it is, that I would be able to trust the Pacers offense more than match any offense the Boston Celtics get at this point without Jason Tatum being on that team.
I need some sort of drop for my Galaxy brain takes, but just bear with me. Haize, do you think the Knicks are really better than the Celtics? Do you think they're better than the Celtics?
Fully healthy, no.
No. I mean, they were up 3-1 though, right? Without even Tatum. But here's the thing is that no, like the answer is no. And that's why the Indiana Pacers should want the Boston Celtics, because what you don't want is you don't want to run into this team where it's like, well, they're not that good, but they keep winning. Those teams are obnoxious. The 2023 Heat, the 2023 Lakers, there's squads where it's like, come on, they're not that good. Come on. Those teams find ways to win, and they play with more confidence because of it. Now, if the Celtics are able to force a game 7, the Pacers are going to be in a prime spot here either way. And I think they're honestly sitting pretty with either matchup. But I honestly think Boston, if they get to this Knicks series, it's going to be like a catharsis for losing Tatum, and the emotional letdown is going to be huge. Porzingis is a shell of himself. I don't know how you match up with Indiana given the state of the team. As good as they are, you can shoot a lot of threes. Indiana's really good at limiting them. They're way better than New York is. So I think the Boston Celtics are actually who the Indiana Pacers should want to see in the next round.
Next week, if the Knicks win, and really honestly, if the Nuggets or the Thunder win, I think a great conversation that we should have next week is like which one of these teams has reached their peak. Like who's already in finals form? Because I don't know if any of them are. I think all these teams have room to grow in a potential conference finals. Who should the Wolves want in the conference finals? I'll ask Matt and Haize that ahead. And plus, the Pacers and the Wolves, 2 mid-sized markets, back-to-back conference finals. I want to know what the team building lesson is here. And we've got that and much more ahead here on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Prize Picks. Basketball and hockey playoffs are here, and there's no better time to turn your sports knowledge into real cash with Prize Picks. It's the top destination for daily fantasy action. Prize Picks makes it super simple. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you are in. You can even mix and match those players across basketball, hockey, and baseball. I love that. I love the cross-matching of the sports. And more for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Here's what I'm playing this week. I'm taking Nikola Jokic for more than 25 points in the deciding game 7. And how about Jalen Brown? I mean, he's got to do a lot with Jason Tatum out. I'll take him for more than 4 assists this weekend. And every lineup you make enters you into the Takes 2 Tickets sweepstakes, a chance to win a VIP trip to basketball's championship series. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Let's get back to this conference finals talk. Matt, who should the Wolves want in the conference finals? Who should they want to win that game 7?
Oh, Nuggets. Oh, man, the Nuggets. A team with 6 players. They have gone 4-0 against them. They have won, 8 of the last 11 games against the Nuggets. They don't match up well with them. The Nuggets are exhausted. They've played 2 7-game series. They're comfortable playing in Denver. They have all the confidence against them. They don't match up well with the Wolves. The fresh mountain air is nice in the morning. Everything they should want to play the Nuggets. Absolutely 100%. I actually think this Thunder series is a really good matchup for the Wolves. But if OKC gets past this, they're going to have a lot of confidence that they can win. Now, that can be two-sided because this is what happened to the Wolves last year when they beat Denver in a tough series. But honestly, Haize, I think the Wolves are sitting pretty, licking their chops, waiting for who they get to go after next.
So just to be clear, you have the Nuggets winning against the Wolves is what I'm hearing. No, I'm just
it's close.
Definitely
Coin flip, really.
You definitely want the team that only goes 3 deep into their bench versus the team that can legitimately every single game go 10 deep, especially now with the hamstring thing to Aaron Gordon. Like you want the Denver Nuggets if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's a better matchup for you on paper. It's been the better matchup for you in the regular season. All those things, and plus the OKC Thunder were beating teams by a historic margin of victory. Like, you want to avoid that team. I don't care if they played a tough series against the Denver Nuggets. If you can avoid that team, you avoid that team. So you should be hoping that the Nuggets win Game 7.
Let me just throw one counter argument in there. It's that maybe the Wolves would want the team that is bringing up more questions than answers. Like right now, the Nuggets are answering more questions, I think, about themselves than the Thunder are. So now if the Thunder blow the Nuggets out in Game 7, then, different conversation. But if it's close, then I think it wouldn't be terrible to play the Thunder in that situation.
Yes, but also one of the questions that the Nuggets are answering is, are you tired? And the answer is yes.
Okay, fair enough. So really quickly, what's the team building lesson here? Because you have the Pacers and the Wolves back-to-back conference finals trips. Obviously, Anthony Edwards was a top pick. The Pacers haven't picked near the top of the draft in quite a while. What's the team building lesson here, Matt, for teams mid or larger markets that are looking to rebuild?
Don't be afraid to make trades that are going to make your team better for talent that maybe the consensus isn't as high on. You don't have to just trade for Giannis or Jimmy Butler at age 37. Like, you can do this. They traded for Domantas Sabonis, and then they traded Sabonis for Tyrese Halliburton. They invested in a young player that they believed in, and then added Pascal Siakam, who it's like, yeah, I mean, he's good, but it's like this great fit around him. The Wolves trade for Rudy Gobert, and everyone calls it the dumbest trade in existence, and they get 2 Western Conference Finals appearances out of it. They trade Cat mostly for money reasons, but they think that we can make this work with Julius Randle by adding Dante DiVincenzo, and they do. Like, build the best 5-man lineups you can. Build as many of the best 5-man lineups you can. I really think that we've moved into an era, Haize, where it's less about who is your best guy, who is your second best guy. You got to have a guy. I'm not saying you don't, Houston Rockets, but you got to build the best 5-man lineups because the league is too good now for you to get by just leaning on one dude.
Yeah, you have to have balance, and it's about how things fit. I think the lesson as well is like, don't allow mid-season issues to make you pull the trigger on something or make a change. Like, both the Indiana Pacers and the Minnesota Timberwolves towards the middle of the season, they looked like teams that were going to disappoint. They both had way better second halves of the year. They were able to dig themselves out of any type of early holes, and they're just well-built, well-coached teams. Coaching matters. And that's something that sometimes can be overlooked at times. Like, you look at the way that both Rick Carlisle and Minnesota Timberwolves have been coached in these playoffs. It's been some of the best coaching that you'll see. So I think coaching matters, depth matters, fit matters, and sometimes you have to wait for that fit to hit the perfect level, and then you can take off for the races.
All right, did you hear that? The lesson here is you don't have to trade for Giannis, which brings us to our next topic. Lots of teams want to trade for Giannis. Ever since Shams Charania reported that Giannis would be open to move on from the Milwaukee Bucks, Speculation Station has been full of trains ready to ship him to Brooklyn, Dallas, San Antonio, and now Toronto? The rumor seems shaky, but it didn't stop Locked On Bucks and Locked On Raptors from checking in with each other this morning. Let's hear from Camille Davis and Sean Woodley.
This week, I think I was more around like 70-30, where I thought like 70% Giannis stays. Mm-hmm. Now I'm probably around like 65-35, where it's like, right. It swayed a few different times. Like, I honestly think that the Bobby Portis comments, I think Bobby Portis is gone, but this is not a Bobby Portis episode. This is a Giannis episode. We're not worried about Bobby Portis over here. But I do think that there's a pathway for Giannis staying, especially when you look at just the Eastern Conference as a whole. Especially you saw what happened with Tatum in Boston, unfortunately, but that changes the future of the Celtics this upcoming year. If you're trying to win championships, the easiest pathway to do so is still the East.
Cooper Flagg's going out west. Presumably Dylan Harper is going out west. Like, the West talent stacking just seems to be continuing over and over. And the Tatum injury obviously opens up a lot next year. And yeah, like, I don't know. It's not rocket science to build like a functional team around Giannis.
I'm not so sure Cooper and Dylan are going out west. We'll talk about that in a moment. But first, Haize, if Giannis wants to stay out east, would it make more sense to stay in Milwaukee or work with a Brooklyn or Toronto on a clean slate?
I'd say probably still staying in Milwaukee, but if any team other than Milwaukee, I would say Toronto, because I think that they would have better players around him after a trade. I think if he goes to Brooklyn, who knows what the heck the Brooklyn Nets are going to be like. I don't know how to gauge them or judge them. Toronto Raptors do offer a nice opportunity there if he wants to stay out east, but I'm saying just stay in Milwaukee. You're a god in Milwaukee. You have a lot of control and power there. I'd lean to staying in Milwaukee if you're going to stay out east.
I don't know what that trade looks like. Are you going to move Barnes? Seems tough given how much they've invested in him. Do you try and move RJ? Okay, so then you're left with Brandon Ingram and Emmanuel Quickly. I don't think Toronto makes a lot of sense, but this is honestly, again, it just comes down to what Giannis wants. I think the clean slate problem is that we don't live in a free agency world anymore. The 2026 one's supposed to be pretty good, but that's still only going to be like a handful of names. And so if you don't have this kind of opportunity to rebuild through free agency to get this, and you really can't do the Heat triad, hey, we're going to sign 3 megastars in one summer. You really can't do that anymore with the CBA. So I don't really know if it makes sense to go with a clean slate. I think you need to go for culture, fit, and a locker room that's already in a position of they can absorb you and still be in a really good place. That to me seems like the better kind of fit there. For me, honestly, a lot of this is about the non-roster stuff. It's about organization. Do you have a great practice facility? How's your staff? How's your culture? Is everyone in a good place there? How many guys are paid? Are they going to be playing for contracts next year? It's a lot more complicated, I think, than just like, hey, we can reshape it however you want, or, oh, hey, we got this. I think it's about more the organization for Giannis and what he wants to be a part of going forward if he wants to leave Milwaukee.
And that is a huge if. The Bucks and Celtics could look to make some major decisions this summer, but they're not the only ones. The Golden State Warriors say the top of their roster is locked in, including Steph Curry, who met with the media and said that they have a lot of work to do to build a rotation around Steph and Jimmy that can make it out of the second round. Matt, what should be first on their offseason priority list?
Some sort of time travel device to go back to when these guys were able to be a championship contender. They're older. I found this out yesterday. They're older than Barkley, Drexler, and Olajuwon were in 97. They're older than that. Yikes. Medical science is better, but oof. I guess look, they put a lot of shooting around them this year. They were one of the best teams in the league at made 3-pointers. There's only so much efficiency you can kind of get to. I guess maybe more shooters. They have defenders. Like they've got Gary Payton, and they had a really elite defense. What's the key here? I'll go outside the box here, though. Do they need a third star who can shoot and facilitate that isn't Draymond? Because Draymond seems like a great fit with Jimmy on defense, and Jimmy seems like a really good fit with Steph on offense. I don't know what the Jimmy and Steph and Draymond fit is offensively. And so I don't know what that kind of looks like. And I'm curious to know if maybe is there really room for all three of them there if they want to build a championship roster?
Haize, this is a name that's been rumored to them recently. It would not make them younger. I think it would qualify them for the AARP, but it's Brook Lopez out of Milwaukee, adds a shooting big to that rotation. Do you like that match for them?
I mean, it could work. I think Dre and how versatile he can be when he's locked in defensively could make that work. I like Nikola Vucevic a little bit more for them. I know he doesn't bring the defensive aspect, but from a scoring, especially in the half court, he would bring some of that. But I think overall, we just need to prepare. This is going to be the Wild Hog season. I know nobody really watched that movie for the Golden State Warriors. It's just old guys. And my father joined a bike club when he was 55 years old. That's what this feels like. That's what this feels like. I had bad questions when he did it. And so that's what this feels like, just the old guys. They're going to go out there, have some fun, add a center, find whatever, name your center, defensive, offensive. This is just fun to watch. I'm just going to have fun watching them next season. I don't know if a championship's coming or not, but have fun with it.
LeBron's 40, Taj Gibson's 39, Chris Paul can come back at 39, PJ Tucker. How about Jeff Green? Want to get Jeff Green? Al Horford?
All of them.
Al Lowry?
Vet minimum contracts, to sign them all.
Joe
Wild
Johnson
Hogs
can still play, right? They can just get Joe Johnson back.
I like it. I like that nickname for them next season. It's the Wild Hogs season. They've got 2 years, in fact, to make it happen. And we'll continue to cover it here on Locked On NBA. Coming up, we're going to shift from the old heads to some of the new players that will be entering the league. The NBA draft. Are the Mavs and the Spurs and the Sixers really serious about adding rookies to their fringe playoff teams? I'll ask Matt and Haize that ahead here on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Game Time. There is nothing like the NBA playoffs. The buzzer beaters, the Game 7s, the crowd eruptions, that edge of your seat intensity. I was just on the Game Time app looking at the Celtics and Knicks tickets for Game 6. Zone deals were offering 60% off in great sections. I love that in Game Time you can see the exact view from your seat before you buy. No surprises. And prices, they actually drop as you get closer to tip-off. So if you're spontaneous like me, you can scoop up those killer last-minute deals. The app is super easy. It's 2 taps and you're done. Boop, boop. And with the Game Time guarantee, if you find a better price in the same section and row, they are going to credit you 110% of the difference. That's crazy. And now that the NFL schedule is out, you can already plan a few fall trips to go out and see your favorite team with Game Time. Game Time makes grabbing NFL tickets just as easy. Exclusive discounts, no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. What a concept! Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Make sure you're checking out Locked On NBA Game Time. It's on this feed on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. They are recapping every game every night. All right, grab a seat at the bar, scan the QR code for our full drink list. It is time to talk draft. When the top 3 picks in the lottery go to teams with ready-made playoff aspirations, it's reasonable to assume that one or more of them would be up to dealing that pick. But so far, reports suggest that the Mavericks and the Spurs are fine bringing Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper into their fold. But speculation will remain until the pick is in. Matt, when you hear talk of not trading the pick, who do you believe less, the Mavericks or the Spurs?
Spurs, because here's what's weird. There's all this like, oh, the Spurs are not going to trade the pick. The Spurs tend to not share their details with anybody. This is not like a media leaky friendly organization. They keep things extremely close to the vest. That's why I'm always kind of cautious whenever I hear about a San Antonio interest in a player. So I'll say San Antonio here. If there's you can't trade Luka Doncic and Cooper Flagg in the same Right. So I'll say that I trust the Spurs, or I trust the Spurs less here. There's a lot of options that are on the table for them. Like there's just like a lot of combos that they can use. They've got 2 lottery picks. There are other teams like the Hawks that have multiple picks. They can probably work out something. I think the best thing for them honestly might be to move down, like get a good player, move down, because I just don't know if Dylan Harper makes the most sense for them unless they're like, we think Dylan Harper is absolutely better than Stephon Castle, which they may. But then it's like, all right, maybe got to move off of Castle. It just seems like they do have a logjam that they're going to have to address somehow, some way, because I don't think going into the season with all 3, Fox, Castle, and Harper, is what's best for them for this next season.
Yeah, I'd say the Spurs too. Like, if the Dallas Mavericks were to trade the number 1 overall pick, like it's just that. I mean, great content for the summer to talk about, but like outside of that, like you can't. One franchise can't be that doomed, right? Like we'd have to literally no, just calling him. We'd have to go check on Nick Inkstand, like physically. We'd have to pull up on him because he may never leave his house again if that were to happen. So I think the Spurs there at number 2 have the biggest chance to either trade back, trade out, try to. I do think they may be more open to jump starting this, even though I don't think that they should, as far as jumping this championship window and trying to go out there and get a veteran to add to this team for right now. So I think they have a bigger chance to trade it, but even though I don't think they should either. I think both teams should keep their pick.
Maybe the Spurs trade down just slightly to a team that has injury questions about their own lead guard and would want to add Dylan Harper, maybe at 4. I don't know. We'll see. How about the
Man,
Philadelphia 7?
Man,
Go ahead.
oh, you're onto something. Oh, I love this idea.
It
LaMelo for the 2. Yes.
It makes
Let's
a lot of
do
sense.
Well, they have Fox there, though.
LaMelo and Fox, you can make sense. It's 2 guards that can both handle. Fox can cover defensively for LaMelo, and you've got this amazing passer and a more up-down north-south driver. This works. You can make this. Doug, by God, you've done it.
Well, and before the Spurs made the move for Fox, they were reportedly sniffing around LaMelo Ball. So maybe they sniff again. We'll see. How about the Philadelphia 7? Well,
I've been thinking about this all day, Doug. This is great.
If you want to hear more, check out Locked On Hornets. There's my shameless plug for the episode. How about the Philadelphia 76ers at 3? Locked On Sixers. They have plenty of concerns about the player most mocked to them. That is Ace Bailey. Let's take a listen to that.
A lot of people are concerned because of his height. Another thing that I heard from people is that they say that he can be extremely ball dominant. He takes some crazy shots. He misses some shots. But if we're going to be 100% honest, he played for Rutgers. Rutgers was struggling. He had to take a lot of shots. Like, you're going to pass it to a dude that you know that's not going to make it. So I think that, all these guys who were the man and were scorers, those are things that they did. So at this particular time, I really don't have any concerns for him. I know that there are concerns out there. I just don't have any for him at this particular time.
Okay, so Keith Pompey, their beat writer for the Sixers, he is not concerned at all. But if the Philadelphia 76ers take Ace Bailey Haize, are they in danger of running in to the same 2 timeline trap as we've been talking about with the Golden State Warriors and Jonathan Kuminga?
No, I don't see it the same way because I think Tyrese Maxey's still young enough. McCain's still young enough. Like, if you were to go ahead and take Ace Bailey, I think you have more young players that are a bigger part of your rotation now that it makes sense to keep that in. Like I said before many times, you still have to think about trading or at least building a team where if Joel Embiid's there, great. If he's not, okay, we're still building towards a direction. But I think when you look at Ace Bailey, a ball dominant player who needs a lot of shots, can pass a little. That sounds like a player that Daryl Morey's actually fallen in love with before. So I don't think that they'd shy away from drafting Ace Bailey as much as maybe what they're thinking there.
I would just say on the 2 timelines front, you got to have 1 timeline before you get 2 timelines. So let's work on one timeline. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if Bailey slips. There's not like conversation about them passing on him. There is kind of this, are you really going to, this is always the thing is like, are you really going to let him slide? Right? Like, is Charlotte really going to let him slide, even though he makes no sense in Charlotte? Like, does that really happen? And then from there, like, where does he end up, I think is a valid question. But he's not one of the guys that came out of the combine. And I've heard, like, the guys I've heard that came out of the combine with, hey, made a good impression, or Jeremiah Fears, Malish. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Malawash.
Igor Devin and Derek Queen are the guys I've heard came out of the combine with kind of the best reviews so far. Now it's early. I would think I'll probably get some more calls and texts over the next couple of days, but that I don't know that where Bailey goes. Like, Bailey is the most likely to slide. Harper's not getting past 2. Flag's not getting past 1. Harper's not getting past 2. I do not know where Bailey goes. And after that, that's where things will start to get a little complicated. And that might be just a situation where, like, look, the Sixers might just find somebody else and just reach for him. I don't think that Ace is such. I just do not think that Ace's profile is such where it's like, you got to take him. He's not that level. I just don't think he's like, well, he's got some problems, but no, it's just like, you can go find another guy if there's somebody else that you like more.
If you want to know more, go ahead and check out Locked On NBA Big Board. This is their time. This is their season. It's all draft all the time on that show, wherever you get your podcast. If you like what you heard today on this show, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Haize for their expertise all week long. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night, until an NBA champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NBA Game Night on this feed on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Enjoy our beautiful game this weekend. Be kind to each other, and we'll see you right back here next week on Locked On NBA.